Honestly, when I first joined Tech Transfer, I was like, am I doing a wrong thing? Because I've been a bench scientist for so long. I have, done only lab experiments my like 12 years of my life. But since the time I've joined this office, I've never even regretted it for a single day.
Today on the podcast, I'm joined by Dr. Shrishti Singh, a licensing fellow in the life sciences at the University of Michigan's Innovation Partnerships Office. I'm excited to talk with her about her journey from academic research to an administrative role and how she's navigating her life after her PhD. Now, a word from the sponsor. HireEd Plus is a premier online professional development platform aiming to break down barriers to success and accelerate the impact of faculty members, academic leaders, postdoctoral fellows, as well as graduate and undergraduate students at institutions of higher education. The platform offers an end to end streaming service that demystifies the complex academic landscape while directly supporting key benchmark criteria in the 2025 Carnegie classifications in the Times Higher Education World University Rankings. If you're interested in learning more about Higher Ed Plus, please see the link in the description below. If you use the link in the description and you use the coupon code AfterYourPhD20, you'll get $20 off any Higher Ed Plus unlimited membership. So firstly, I wanted to talk about your current role as a licensing fellow. Can you share with the audience and listeners what that is and what your day-to-day looks like?
Sure. Thanks for having me on here,
Of
Ryan.
course.
It's wonderful to be here. Yeah, definitely. So just a little bit of a background about me. After my PhD, I did delve a little bit into entrepreneurship, and that's when I realized that I want to be at the forefront of translation of technologies, and
Mm-hmm.
that got me interested into a career in technology transfer. Uh, Mostly academic technology transfer. In most tech transfer offices, the inventions that are developed by faculty are assessed, and then they are provided. They are provided a technology readiness level, and based off of that. We decide, what commercialization pathways can be taken. And this is exactly what I do. We receive inventions from University of Michigan faculty. I review them. I see what's novel and different than the existing technologies in the inventions that they have disclosed. And then after that, I, provide a commercialization plan, which could look like either we always keep in mind that the faculty is our customer. It's a very customer
Mm-hmm.
service oriented job, wherein we ask the faculty, like, what do they think after IP protection they want to do with these technologies, and if they are interested in licensing it to a bigger company, we try to find different potential licensees for those technologies and negotiate terms for licenses. Or if they're interested in starting a new venture like a startup, we also provide support on that front. So the office is my office, Innovation Partnerships, where I work, is divided into three different parts because of this. You have sponsored research group, wherein faculty can engage with industry sponsors through that part of the office. I belong in licensing, and I just described what licensing does. There's also a ventures group, that can help faculty get their technologies to a venture formation level or startup level, and help them obtain funding through different dilutive sources like angel funding or VC funding. So it's a very interesting role. My role right now is I'm still in a training position, and this training position lasts for like 3 years, but I'm learning every aspect of technology transfer. I did have a bit of a background in it because I was an entrepreneur for more than a year trying to
Mm-hmm.
spin up my own PhD work as a company.
Nice.
So a lot of those aspects are being brought here, but it's really fun and cool. I intersect with all three divisions that I just described within the office. And, my day to day can look like I'm reviewing inventions, talking to faculty, figuring out what it is that they want to do with their inventions, doing patentability and prior art analysis of the inventions that they provide to my office. That's a majority of my work, wherein I try to find novel elements of the technology and see how it's different from existing. IP.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then I do a lot of market reports, market research, commercialization strategies, etc. So they do say that day within technology, no one day within technology transfer is the same. And
Sounds
that
like it. Yeah.
yeah, and that's what happens to my work days too. So I don't really have like a set role of duties except maybe prior art analysis, but it's just it can differ because sometimes can faculty can come up to us and be like, I have this invention. Can you find a potential licensee to develop it further? So it's very different.
Yeah, I was gonna say this sounds like an area like I'm maybe not as well like informed about. I think just because I came from like a humanities background, so I guess there's not a lot of like products that humanities people are making. Maybe like on the film side, maybe there's something I didn't really know about. But yeah, that it is kind of. I think you kind of mentioned maybe like a scenario like if someone has maybe an invention, they come to this office, kind of work with the university to you say commercialize, so essentially, like, I guess if you, and I'm trying to think of an example of maybe you develop like some type of medicine, right, at the university, then I guess you work with the university to find pharmaceutical companies that would want to like buy the product or license it, right? So you're kind of like the in between of sorts, right?
Yeah, yeah. Most academic tech transfer offices, their goal or aim is to ensure that any IP, intellectual property product developed at a university, whether it's a drug, a medical device, in terms of, like humanities, if it is like a painting also that is developed by a faculty, all of that can be industrialized or it
Interesting.
can be sold. It has a greater purpose rather than just sitting at the lab bench.
Yeah, in my understanding, like this has to be like disclosed correct. Like someone can't just like invent something at the university with university resources and then go off and like sell it, right?
Yeah, that's not possible. It has to be disclosed to our office and to any tech transfer office within the institution. And the tech transfer office has all of the resources to ensure that these technologies, end up at the right space.
Yeah.
One great example I can give you is, do you know the LASIK eye surgery?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm aware of
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, that was developed at University of Michigan and it was
Ah,
handled
interesting.
through my office, which was eventually licensed to bigger medical devices company, and now it's available everywhere.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, no, that's importance of universities. I don't think people hope people
That's
realize that.
important to the world because
Yeah, I know.
imagine just having those technologies sitting there. Faculty is too busy to figure out what to do with it. So,
Hmm, dang.
they need a commercialization sector.
Well, I know there's probably a lot more like in the specific role that is actually kind of interesting more. I'm kind of talking about it. But I do want to know more about just yourself and kind of your background and how you got into this type of role. So I do wonder like how did you transition from your role? Because I think you mentioned you're a co-founder. Like how
Yeah.
did you find this role for one and like what interested you about it? Like those types of things I'm kind of interested just for other people listening.
Yeah, sure, definitely. So after my PhD, no, not after my PhD, as I was running, I was getting close to defend, I truly did realize that my PhD work was a product. It was
Mhm.
actually a drug that could be used to diagnose tumor in earlier stages. So it was a dye-based product that, had the potential to be commercialized. And I got really interested in potentially figuring out what ways of commercializing a drug product is. One
Mhm.
of the ways was to create a startup. I could create a startup, take this product up to a level that, another bigger firm would be interested in either um, licensing the technology from the startup or either, me exiting as when the technology is pretty decent, I exit and get bought out by a bigger pharmaceutical firm. So I did everything so I once when I started into entrepreneurship, just know that I've been a bench researcher for the past 12 years. I did
Oh,
research in my undergrad, I then my master's, and then a PhD for another five years. and then another postdoc for a year and a half. So you can imagine that I have no business skills at all. So I had to learn a lot of techniques and all of the things that go behind starting a new venture. So I participated in like these huge entrepreneurship development programs run by NSF. It's known as the I-Core program. It's
Mm,
really easy for an academic to enroll in an I-Core program and try to figure out what how their product can be used in a market. It's known as product market fit. And I did like hundreds of interviews wherein I talked to potential customers and tried to find out what their current pain points was when it came to diagnosing tumors,
mhm.
like radiologists, general surgeons, etc.
Yeah,
And did like hundreds of interviews just to figure out how the product market fit takes place. While I was a postdoc and I had co-founded the company. So both of these things were going in parallel. I
mm,
unfortunately, after 15 months of doing this, got extremely burnt out.
I can imagine.
But I had the experience of a lifetime. I had learned so many things from how to think of a product, because the way that we academics usually end up thinking is, oh, I've developed something. I'm sure someone would want it because I read
Mm,
academic literature and I'm solving an issue. But that's not how the world of business works.
yeah,
It truly has to solve an issue that the customers are facing. And sometimes you'll realize that the customers are not facing the same issue that academic literature is telling you that they are facing. So, real world translation of a product is completely different. But I gained so many different skills through the entrepreneurial trainings, trying to raise funding. I wrote an SBIR grant that got, this was a huge grant. And again, all of those were like added on skills, wherein I'm doing market analysis of the product, I'm doing product market fit studies, I'm trying to figure
mhm.
out how to commercialize this product. So you can imagine like all of these skills is what actually technology transfer also requires, because you have to think from the perspective of how can we commercialize this product. So that's how I kind of ended up in this role, because when once got burnt out and decided to transition, I was like, okay, what it is that I have gained so many skills. Yes, I was not successful in making the startup to the point wherein I had thought originally, but what can I do with these skills? How can I utilize them? And for me, tech transfer felt like the most, easiest way
Yeah.
to a transition. Again, it was difficult because I had no prior tech transfer experience as an
Mhm.
internship in a tech transfer office. But due to all of my skills that I gained as an entrepreneur, I got very lucky and I ended up with this role. So
Well,
any
yeah, and oh,
yeah,
sorry.
anyone looking to transition out of academia
Mhm.
and interested in such type of roles, I would personally will suggest them that they can approach their university's tech transfer office, whether you are a PhD or a postdoc, and at least try to get an internship
Mhm.
in tech transfer office. That's usually they do take paid or unpaid interns, and that would be a great way to get exposed to something different than academia. This is also a lot like business development. So the tech transfer roles and business development roles are sometimes synonymous with each other. So you can also be competitive in industry for like a business development role.
Yeah, and I think this is a great like option, especially because it seems like it gives you both sides of like, industry, academia, if you think of it like a binary. But yeah, I could definitely see like how the university would see like students like yourself or PhDs like yourself, that have that experience of like both sides to kind of like be able to like assist with what they're doing. And so yeah, that's really fascinating because I think that is a great space for like an internship too. And I think you sort of answered my question in terms of just entrepreneurship, like business. I think you mentioned like taking like training, which I think is a great idea. Did you have any like mentors along the way when you're a founder? Did you look at any books? Like, was it just kind of learning as you went?
I had mentors. I had a wonderful business mentor from the Small Business Development Center in Virginia. So I was trying to spin out this startup from George Mason University, which is in Northern Virginia. They have a great SBDC center or Small Business Development Center when they try to help up and coming entrepreneurs to, and get them exposed to the business side. So I did have a wonderful business mentor. She has like, more than 30 years of experience creating biotech startups and exiting them at like a really high value. So she was with me along every step of the way. Also, when you go for an NSF I-Core training or NIH I-Core training, they usually ask that you come in with a business mentor. It's just required. And even right now, currently at University of Michigan, if you have a PhD or a postdoc interested in spinning out their work, we have something known as mentors in residence, and they get assigned to you from the start, and they like teach you along the way like what it is that you need to be looking for when you are trying to commercialize your product. So yes, there was a lot of help along the way. I did do a lot of researching of my own, especially for those product market fit interviews wherein I need to know what the pain points are that my
Yeah.
customers are facing. I read a lot of resources, a lot of books on customer discovery, how to be able to talk to people. I'm a bit of an introvert, so it was kind of really hard at first to schedule like 100 interviews and kept them rolling and try to figure out who to talk to. It was really overwhelming and a lot, but I would say like having my business mentor and these resources were really helpful. I read up a lot on entrepreneurship, how to take, technologies from lab to from a bench to the bedside. That's how it's known as in my field. So there was a lot of reading and a lot of like, training along the way. I did do like a 2 week boot camp, like a small boot camp that MBA
Mhm.
students do
Oh,
for
nice.
being able to market technologies. I did do that too. Again, resources that I found at the university, I utilized all of them. uh, but it was all about me consciously trying to figure out these resources
Mhm. Well,
over and over again.
and you said some like you read some books, like were there any like business books? Like did those help at all, or did you I guess like maybe just at the understanding like definitions maybe, or yeah, I'm just kind of curious about that.
Yeah, sure. I don't remember the exact book name. These were like, these were like how to get to know your customer. Yeah, there was an ebook like that,
Mm-hmm.
customer understanding. Y- And there were a lot of resources also provided by the NSF I code when I was enrolled there. They did provide a lot of other product related books that I had to like, really absorb in like a 7 week training. So yeah, and a lot of searching of my own and resources that I would say of my own. One thing I would suggest anyone to looking to move into entrepreneurship is,
Hmm.
oh yeah, oh sorry, I just remembered the book's name. Talking to Success. Success starts with understanding your customers by
Hmm.
Gift Constable. Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's good to know.
Yeah, so that's the one that I really had to hone in on. And again, online resources. One thing I would suggest anyone looking to go into this path is, ask a lot of questions, be curious, and just try to, figure things out
Mhm.
of your passion, right? It was my passion to do this. So it was quite a journey, but yeah, as long as I kept asking questions and I was extremely curious about.
Yeah, so I did want to talk maybe more about just maybe the transition when it comes to Just like things that you kind of wish you knew before you did your PhD, because my understanding is that entrepreneurship, maybe working at tech transfer, that wasn't something maybe you considered while you're finishing your PhD. You mentioned about like a lab bench. I'm not really as sure about what that is. Um, but yeah, like what was something that you wish you knew before?
One thing I wish I knew before or when I started my PhD was I came into my PhD thinking that once I get this degree, I'll be extremely competitive in the job market as a
Mhm.
scientist. That was extremely wrong. I don't think I should have come in with the notion. What I did not realize is that if I need to be, competitive in the job market, I needed to network quite earlier on. So networking is truly key, and I wish someone would have explained it to me. I was sort of trained to take up a more like conventional academic position. Oh, I will do a postdoc and then be an assistant professor. But I wish I was trained better on no, here are other options that you can have, career options. And if you want to pursue any of these other career options, here are actionable steps that you can take. I was completely blind when I started my
Oh,
PhD. So I wish I networked better, explored other career options better, because in my head I thought, oh, no worries. If not a postdoc, I'll be competitive for a scientist job. No,
yeah,
it didn't.
and I feel like that's kind of common like across disciplines too. Like I'm not really sure why like even like myself, like I kind of thought that if I get a PhD at like a good university, like oh yeah, like I mean it should competition shouldn't be too difficult, right? Like you have that degree, you're working with the right professors, but yeah, when you learn about how many people are applying for roles and like the amount of time it goes just to publishing, I think you start to wake up and kind of see what it's like. But yeah, and I don't know if it's like regret, but I think like when you look back at it, I do feel like people that made the transition seem to have just they're pretty content with their decision. Like I think they might regret not knowing something in the past, but would you agree that you do feel like more content?
I am extremely content now, and that's why I, extremely appreciate podcasts like this, wherein I want this information to be out there that maybe I
Mhm.
might not have absorbed it earlier or it wasn't available when I was just started my PhD. But it really helps to have like content like yours because I want like the incoming PhDs to know that career transitions can be made and it's nothing to regret. You shouldn't regret it. Honestly, when I first joined tech transfer, I was like, am I doing a wrong thing? Because I've been a bench scientist for so long. I have, done only lab experiments my like 12 years of my life. But since the time I've joined this office, I've never even regretted it for a single day.
Yeah,
So,
and well, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, so that's the point, right? Like, if I wouldn't have done this, I would never have known, you know. Uh,
That's fair.
yeah.
Yeah,
But I,
you gotta like experiment, which is in your career, which is kind of funny because I guess like PhDs don't really consider that, but maybe it's just more like a personality thing because I think you mentioned like you're like an introvert, kind of like myself. So maybe there's just that current aspect that that aspect of it too that falls into it.
yeah, there's a probably that. There's also that, I only after I entered entrepreneurship, I realized that, there, I always thought I wanted to build something that could save people's life. But
Mhm.
what I didn't realize is there are two aspects to it. I can build it, but someone has to take it to the people.
That's right.
Yeah, so I just realized maybe I can be on that end wherein, I can be the person contributing to taking it to the people.
Well, and I think it's a good point because I do feel like there's like some hesitance from like some PhDs who they do want to make a difference, but they're also like they don't want to work in industry in an idea that like it's about just people making money. Like if it's there's no purpose like to it, like there's maybe it's just like again like feels like there's not like meaning in it. But I feel like with like tech transfer, what you're explaining to me, it's like you can kind of. put your foot in like both types of roles. I mean, both like worlds, I guess, and like still feel like you're kind of helping like universities get important technology out, but also like learning some new aspects of it that are kind of can help you in your longer career. Because I would imagine like this type of role is really looks good on a resume, really kind of can build like connections. Like it seems like there's a lot to this type of role, if I'm not wrong here. So I think there is definitely like I could see the benefit of that. Like for those
Yeah.
that maybe don't want to make the big jump to like working at a pharmaceutical company or something, they would rather still work at a university. They want to still have that environment, but it's like again in between. So that's pretty
Yeah,
interesting.
it's a great role for anyone that feels like they want to contribute actively to technologies
Mhm.
being out into the commercial space, and also want to help them develop skills that could potentially get them like a business type of role in industry.
Mhm.
So this is a really good pathway for that.
Yeah, and I think we kind of touched upon it about misconceptions, about maybe thoughts about what people think life is like if they don't work in academia. Is there anything that we missed that you might want to address? I mean, because it's like you're outside of academia, but you're still working at a university. So I think that distinction is also kind of interesting as well.
Yeah, I don't think I miss a lot about academia. Sometimes I do miss the fact that, I used to run experiments day in and day out of my life. So obviously there is that part, one time I had a nightmare that I forgot how to pipette, something every
Yeah.
lab scientist can do. But honestly speaking, I'm really happy I transitioned to this role because I think academia really uh, was restricting me because my only option was I move on, I do a postdoc for another couple of years and then try to land an assistant professor position. But again, that way I was dealing with like really certain aspects of my life, right? Because a postdoc is a temporary position and it's dependent on funding. So there's a lot of like, uncertainties that I
Yeah,
would
fun
be dealing
anxiety.
with for the next couple of years, just to work towards a role that I might or might not get, right?
Yeah.
So even
Right.
6 years as a postdoc, 6 years later, I might have realized, oh shoot, I have to go find another career now. So
Yeah,
I'm kind
there's a
of
lot of
glad I
anxiety.
didn't do that loop and just shifted out before.
Mhm.
Yeah. So no
Well,
regret.
and yeah, for sure. And it definitely sounds like it because, yeah, that's not something you want to go to day. Just wondering what if you still have a job in the next like 6 months or so. And I just want to end kind of with just leaving the floor open for anything that we didn't cover. Was there anything that maybe you wanted to point out, maybe that we didn't address in discussion? I know we talked about kind of the role transition, kind of what you do. But I just like to leave it if you have any tips, any final like advice. I think you mentioned networking, which comes up often for good reason. But again, just want to leave the floor open.
Yeah, sure. For anyone looking to transition out or anyone even thinking about the transition, I would definitely urge them to research about different career paths that you can take other
Mhm.
than industry. It can also be tech transfer, it can be science policy, it can be science communication. There are various different roles that people can end up into, and you never really know what you're going to like. So I would personally urge you can be in venture, you can eventually be a venture capitalist. So I would really urge, folks to really branch out and not just be stuck with the fact that maybe even there is still time for me to figure this
Mhm.
out. No, just start from day one. If you're looking to, explore other things, try to get internships at at different places if you can, whatever you're trying to explore. Don't think that your entire life is dependent on you getting those publications out because turns
Mhm.
out if you realize that you like something, yeah, yes, you need those publications for graduating and for, being competitive in the job market. But along with those, try to explore other things. If you are, seriously thinking of a transition, network as
Mhm.
early as possible
Exactly.
with as many people as possible for the roles that you're interested in. Definitely be very conscious with your networking, try to build relationships that can help you like in the next 4 years that you're in grad school, build those relationships for those 4 years, and you never really know where your next role can come from. So, try to like really focus on these things. One other piece of advice I have is, this is what I personally felt. It might not be the case for everybody, is sometimes your own PIs might not be the best people for career advice, because all
Yeah.
they've done is transition from, being PhD to postdoc to assistant professor. And if that's the route you want to take, that's great. You can definitely rely on them. They'll be the best resource. But if they're not going to know about other career routes that they have, that
Mhm.
that can potentially be out there because they haven't done it.
Yeah, and I think I definitely kind of relate to that. I know at least communications, kind of like at the media school, sometimes like I'd have professors that kind of knew the field very well, but I think it's also like they worked a lot with undergrads too. So I think there's that perspective too. Like they don't really think, oh, yeah, grad students might want to work in industry, or like they don't know how to like to translate that aspect of it. But yeah, that's a good point. Like, cause yeah, you definitely just have to like keep talking to as many people as possible, like even outside your PI or your kind of dissertation advisor or professors. So that is very helpful advice. Yeah, you know.
Yeah. So yeah, those are some advices that I would really like to give, and and talk to people in the roles that you want. They'll always be more than happy to guide you of how they ended up in the role, and just, yeah, as most people you've said pointed out, networking early and consciously is like truly the key here.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah, because I think consciously too, like you have like a clear like I think goal in mind helps too. Like if you have a career path, and it's easier to kind of figure out like questions to ask and like try to find that right person that can maybe connect you with someone else. But yeah, that's true. Like, so yeah, if you're listening, please network. uh, network yesterday. But yeah, so again, thank you for being on the podcast. It was really great to kind of learn about your transition, just tech transfer in general, because I think that is a valuable like option for academics who want to make that transition and but maybe still want to work at a university or maybe you want to learn more about business. So I think it's really great.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Ryan.
Mhm. All right.